ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Fight for Our Freedom Radio. And I'm your host, Badbaby, accompanied by my darling little co-host, Robert Pepino. And tonight we have with us Betsy Lewis, and we are going to talk about her new book, Deja Vu.
All right, and welcome everyone to Fight for Our Freedom Radio with Badbaby and myself, Robert Pepino, and we've got a great guest for you tonight. She's been on with us in the past. Her name is Betsy Lewis. She's a terrific lady, and Betsy is a world-renowned author, Earth Mysteries investigator, and a gifted psychic who predicted Donald Trump's presidential win 6 months before his election. Through the years, she has made amazing world predictions, ladies and gentlemen. She is also a frequent guest on Coast to Coast AM. I'm sure you guys listen to Coast, as I do, and you've heard her on there with George Norrie, Ground Zero with Clyde Lewis, K-Talks, The Fringe Paranormal Show, Dr. Rita Louise Show, Paranormal Central, and on and on. And now we have Betsy on this evening with us, and we are so pleased to have her with her new book, Deja Vu. Betsy, welcome. It's so great to have you back with us. It's been a while.
Yeah, it has been a while. Thank you so much for having me back. It's great to talk to both of you again.
We love you,
Betsy. Absolutely. Well, I love Betsy. I've known you for what now? About 6-7 years, Betsy?
Yeah,
something like
right.
That.
It's time flies, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it sure does. So we're going to be talking about your new book tonight, which is fantastic. When was it released?
Just a few weeks ago, actually. It hasn't been out that long. Yeah.
Brand new, and it's available on Amazon, right?
Right,
and,
right.
Soft cover and Kindle. Okay, so you have a hard copy and soft copy and Kindle as well.
Right. Absolutely.
Wonderful. Well, Betsy, let's get into this. I know you've written many books. I know you've written many books in the past. Okay.
I have.
And your psychic, your psychic abilities are second to none, in my opinion. You've called a lot of things right throughout time, and you continue to do so. So let's talk about Deja Vu. What led you to writing Deja Vu, Betsy?
Well, I've always been fascinated with reincarnation, and my mother introduced me to it when I was very young. She remembered past lives, and she talked about it, but when I was in my early teens, she actually told me about her experience. She had visions of being in China and helping to build the Great Pyramid, and she said she was an old man. She remembered working hard on it, and they actually buried her inside the Great Wall of China. And what's really interesting, she told me this back in the early 1960s, and there was nothing about that. There was no way that she could have known that people were actually buried inside the Great Wall. And, I just recently found that out, and I was blown away. I went, she knew.
Wow,
but she
that's
described
amazing.
it so perfectly that she knew she had been there.
Now, did she do that under hypnotic regression, or was it?
No.
No, it was a recall she had?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, she was amazing. She could astral project. She would astral travel. She could be in two places at once. People would see her in Idaho and when she was in California, and they claimed that they had talked to her. She was pretty amazing.
Oh wow, that almost sounds like the Hindu masters who can project themselves in 2 or 3 different places at the same time. Wow, that's really amazing. Your mother was really gifted. Obviously, you received those gifts from your mom. To a certain degree, I would say. That's totally amazing.
So. I think so. She taught me so much. We used to play games, psychic games and telepathy games. We could read each other's minds, and she believed in UFOs because both my father and her had an experience when I was only 8 months old in northern Idaho. So, there was that. No one talked about that. And I feel really blessed that I had a mother like that. My father believed in those things, but he didn't talk about it like she did.
Yeah, you know what? I have a tendency to believe that, because especially, towards the beginning of the century, except for a few, Edgar Casey and such. But, I think most men were pretty much playing the role of the dominant male, and not even if they had those experiences, they just wouldn't speak up about it. I think you're absolutely right about it. When women tended to be much more open about the whole thing. But you talk about your book, and it talks about some famous people in the book, and you mentioned Napoleon Bonaparte. Can you tell me about that?
Sure. He was really an interesting character, and I think a lot of people don't realize he believed in reincarnation, and he actually thought that he might have been Emperor Titus, a Roman emperor, and he even fashioned his hair. He copied his hair like that from paintings of what Emperor Titus looked like, and then he supposedly thought himself as Charlemagne, who was Charles the Great, who existed from 742 AD to 814 AD and had unified most of Europe during that time. But what's really interesting is about his experience in the Great Pyramids, and this happened in 1798, and he was fascinated with the Great Pyramids when they went there, and he decided to spend the night in the Great Pyramid alone. And
didn't three of your friends also do the same thing, Betsy?
Yes, other people have. Yes, exactly. Yeah, right.
So what happened to Napoleon when he spent the night in the Great Pyramid? Did he have some incredible revelations about himself or the life?
Well, when he emerged the next morning, his men said he looked as pale as a ghost. And he would not talk about it, but I guess on his deathbed, his friend asked him what he had seen, and he said, "If I told you, you wouldn't believe it." So he died with the secret of whatever he had seen.
Wow. Well, it must have scared him something awful to. If it would have been me, and if that would have happened, I'm sure I would have just ran out of there as quick as possible.
Yeah.
Obviously, he was brave enough to tough it out through the night, so that's amazing in and of itself. But you see, you had friends who stayed in the Great Pyramid. Did they go through kind of the same thing, or not?
That's a good question. Some people theorize about, going back to Napoleon, that he actually saw his future there. And that's what frightened him, that he saw his future. But my friends were there in the early 1980s, and they went in. They got permission somehow. I'm not sure how, but they went in, and they were entering the King's Chamber. They first went into the Queen's Chamber, and they said that these orbs or these spheres suddenly appeared, and they were red. They were like this bright red. And it was like they felt they were being told they couldn't enter. They were like guard dogs. I was told. Yeah, that was really strange. So they asked permission if they could go ahead, that they weren't there to harm anything. And suddenly the orbs turned into this blue. And they said that suddenly one of the orbs became this giant human without a face. And they said it was pretty frightening, but they watched it, and finally everything just disappeared, and they felt that they were welcome there, and it was okay to be there.
That's interesting. I was just going to say, Betsy, I wonder if it was, having to do with any extraterrestrial encounter or just a paranormal, or maybe a little bit of both. That's interesting.
It is. Yeah, it really is. And other people have had things happen to them when they've been in there. So there's some kind of energy inside the pyramid. There's so many theories that it's a generator. Maybe it's some kind of time machine. just so many theories. We just don't know. But we know that there are secret chambers in there. I mean, they've actually found those secret chambers, but they kind of have a dead end, and there's like a door, and they can't get in them. They've had robots going in there to try and get beyond certain areas, and they can't. So they just don't know what they're for.
Well, supposedly, I mean, what I've heard, one of the stories, just like you've heard, that there's, extraterrestrial crafts deep underneath the pyramids. But then I've also heard the fact that there's water aquifers that run underneath the pyramids, and it's obvious because we've seen the photographs. There is water, so obviously there's a water table, but it almost works as like ley lines of water, I guess, which when water flows, it's creating energy. So I'm wondering if the pyramid picks up on that energy and maybe is a transmitter. Who knows? I mean, there's just so many different theories on that, but that is amazing in and of itself. Absolutely wild.
Have you heard, Betsy, about the beam of energy that these pyramids are becoming active? Did you hear about that?
I've heard that, and I kind of wonder. I know I've seen these photos, and I think those are photoshopped, some of them, like especially down in South America, the Maya temples. And I'm not sure I believe that, but that Zahia was, who was the Department of Antiquities at the time, he's no longer the head of antiquities in Egypt, but he wanted to put a gold capstone on the Great Pyramid, and there was so much, he upset so many people that, they finally put the kibosh on everything and wouldn't allow it, which is really interesting.
Well, it is. A friend of mine who also did a lot of trips to Egypt, Mike Hunter, he spent the night in the King's Chamber, and he said he had amazing things happen to him. But he's saying that, at least he told me, and this is what he believes, that the pyramids are some sort of energy collectors, and at one time that's basically what ran all the electrical or electromagnetic force on the planet. When they had high technology, and of course it all got destroyed, so on and so forth. But this is right. I'm not talking about the Egyptians now. I'm talking about going
Atlantis?
back, hundreds of thousands of years. I mean, we've been lied to about just about everything. We know that the pyramids are not 12,000 years old. It's all nonsense. We know the Sphinx is much older than that. So, but anyway, that's what my friend Mike told me, and he gave me these little, they're almost like shell-like things, and he said that those blocks, at least this is his theory, he says that those blocks were poured in place. Now, I don't know how that could be possible, because I've heard the stories that they were cut because they found the different idols and obelisks in the ground. Totally carved out, but never lifted out or broken off. And I think they did that with some sort of sonic anti-gravity device or something. So, and if one was ruined, broken, chipped, or whatever, it was just left there. So I think the proof is that I think it was probably anti-gravitics. I don't know about the whole pouring thing, but it was interesting. But he found all these flat platelet shell type things. And they're scattered all over. And he says that was part of the process that they used. I don't know how or what manner, but I found that really interesting. I actually even have some of them still here in a drawer at the house. Well, that's so who knows? But the pyramids are all over the planet, though. What about the pyramids, Betsy? What about the pyramids now that are being discovered in Antarctica? Because all that ice is melting now. Everybody's starting to see the top of those pyramids. So they're worldwide. It's come to find out. So who knows what they were used for? And I know they're not lying to us. Maybe you have a psychic thought about that, a higher connected thought to maybe what it was.
Well, one thing, when I was in Belize during the 90s, I went there twice, and I snuck in with my friend to see one of the Mayan temples before the sun was setting, and we climbed this one temple, and we were greeted by some men with machetes. And we found,
wow.
that was a little scary, but they were the caretakers, and one spoke English.
Did you tell them, Betsy, that you weren't a virgin?
Yeah, don't sacrifice me,
please.
please.
Don't sacrifice me. I'm not a virgin.
So he gave us a tour of the pyramids around there and the courtyard and everything, and I said, is there any theory or any legend that tells how these were built? And he said, well, there is a legend that says that they were able to make rocks levitate or float in the air.
That's what I heard.
Whoa.
That's what I heard, that they had help and it was extraterrestrial.
Mhm.
Well, Quetzalcoatl would have been the guy, the blonde-haired, white-skinned man who showed up one day, and basically all of a sudden all this technology comes into play. You can see it in the carvings of the Mayan ruins of a man basically coming down or taking off in a rocket ship, and I think that's exactly what it is. They try and tell us that it is an interpreted carving, that it's not really a man in a rocket ship. Oh, baloney. So most people, they draw or sculpt what they see. So that's a bunch of baloney for anybody who's trying to give me an alternative explanation to that.
Sure.
But, amazing stuff, Betsy. But I don't want to get too far off subject here. But let's get into the reincarnation part of the deja vu. You say one of the most incredible cases of reincarnation was with Dorothy. Addie, is it? I hope I'm saying her name right. Edie. Okay.
Edie.
Dorothy Edie, and later known as Oma Seti.
Om Seti. Yeah.
Om Seti. Okay.
Om Seti. That's okay. Om Seti means mother of Seti. And this woman, the story is so incredible. It was in a book which was called The Search for Om Seti that came out in the early 80s, or maybe about mid-80s, by Jonathan Cott, and who knew Om Seti. But she was born in, she was born in 1904 in the UK, and at the age of 3, she fell down a flight of stairs, and she was pronounced dead. Her parents thought she was dead. A doctor came and pronounced her dead, and within a few hours, she came back to life, but she had changed. Pretty soon, she was telling her parents they weren't her parents, that this wasn't her home, and when her father brought home a book of Egypt, she was fascinated with it. And then when they took her to the UK museum, she went right to the Egyptian area that, she had, her father, and her mother were wandering around, but she just took off and she found the mummy of Seti there, and she refused to leave it. I mean, they had to pull her screaming from him.
Wow.
There was something about it, but she knew that, she had lived in another lifetime, and he came to her when she was in her early teens. He appeared to her as a mummy, and I guess the council, which I'm not sure what the council is, and he didn't know what the council was, but Seti lived 3,000 years ago, and he was in love with her as a priestess, and he appeared to her as a mummy, scared her, but she eventually went to Egypt, Cairo, and started studying. She knew hieroglyphs, she studied dough, she knew everything, and she started working for the Department of Antiquities. And she knew that she had to return to Abydos, Egypt, and that's where Seti's temple was. But he started visiting her, and he would tell her things. In fact, she would write things in kind of a trance state. And about their love affair, she had actually been in love with him, and I guess they had a sexual affair, which was a big no-no for a priestess.
Right.
And she was going to, she knew that if anyone found out about him, that it would hurt him, so she committed suicide. And that's why it took so long for her to reincarnate. And he searched the whole universe looking for her for 3,000 years. Yeah, what a love story, right?
Wow, what a love story. What a place
Juliet.
to show up on Earth.
Yeah. But he told her some amazing things about Abydos and everything, which just astounded the Egyptologists working there, the archaeologists. Things that they didn't know before. She said that there had been this beautiful garden there, and there were trees, and they're saying to her, no way, there were no trees here, but they found actual roots much later that confirmed everything that she said.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, like I've seen these stories, many of them about reincarnation. There was a story about, I don't know if I had mentioned this to you before, but I'll go ahead and tell it again for anybody who's listening. There's a story of a little 5-year-old boy. I think he lived in Scotland. 5-year-old boy, and he kept insisting that his parents were not his parents. He kept saying, "You're not my mom. You're not my dad. I know who my mom and dad are." And he would say, "I live over there," and like he would point across wherever, across the other side of the bay or whatever. And he kept insisting. So he went there. He went to the specific house, and there were 2 folks, older folks, and he said, "That's my mom and that's my dad." And then he says, "And I was murdered. I was killed, and I know who killed me." And he went and pointed out to where his body was buried. Says, "This is where I was," because his body was never found. "This is where I was buried." And he pointed, and he found and pointed out the guy who murdered him. The guy actually ended up going to prison because actually they excavated the body. I guess they were able to put some DNA together, and I don't know how, but that guy ended up going to prison. So yeah, the boy, he was murdered, and the man was murdered and came back. And it seems like anybody who has a pretty quick death or dies accidentally usually comes back within 30 years. I mean, I just found out about myself, Betsy, that Bob Dean had told me a long time ago, and I don't know if I mentioned this story too, but Bob Dean had told me that, because he's able to promote you and is psychic himself. He says, "Yeah, you definitely, you perished in your last life. You perished in World War II, but he didn't tell me how." I said, "You died in World War II." Well, and then I was cooperated with Betsy, Barney and Barry and Connie Strum, who use a board. They have their own board.
Right.
And Barry,
you have them on your show, right?
Right.
You had them okay.
Right. And Barry's psychic, and I said, I asked their contact. I said, "How did I die in my last life?" They said, "You died in World War II. You died in a plane as a pilot. You went down in the Pacific." And they even told me what my name was. And then I had a third confirmation. So I had 3 confirmations. I was like, yeah. So I died in 43, and I came back in 66. So that's 23 years. That's pretty quick, I guess. When you die.
That is quick.
I was 24, right? So I came back pretty fast. So it seems like with this young boy, and I kind of equated to the story of this young boy. Now, I don't know how old he was before he was killed, but obviously he came back quick enough to where his murderer was still alive and was able to finger him and point out his parents. So, this absolutely is 100% genuine and real, and everybody incarnates and over and over and over and over. And there's so many lifetimes and lessons to learn.
I have a question.
Absolutely amazing.
Do you think, Besty, that we choose to incarnate, or we have to wait until we're allowed? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, we usually confer with our guides, but a lot of times souls are very anxious and they reincarnate reincarnate too quickly. I mean, they are in such a hurry to come back, and sometimes they choose the wrong parents, the wrong situations, and that's not good. I mean, you know, they would have had a better chance of fulfilling their mission and their lessons if they would have waited. But, you know, souls can be very impatient, you know, just like humans. You know, we get very impatient too. But, you know, when you're on the other side, you're pretty much like you are now. You know, you can be impatient.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not like we get any smarter.
I made my mistake.
Not like we get any smarter, have instant access. Okay, yeah, but you have one thing, you have access to Akashic records, but it doesn't make you any smarter, right?
No.
It's as above, so below.
That's right. Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. Yeah. How true.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing to me. But Betsy, you know what? You talk about the film Patton here with George C. Scott. I loved him, by the way. He was a great actor, George C. Scott.
Yes. Oh,
but
wasn't a great movie. I get chills.
Oh, yeah. But you bring up something really important here. If I could read it real quick.
Sure.
It says, in 1970, film Patton, starring George C. Scott as General George Patton. It shows Patton walking into a European field during World War II and recalling his life as an ancient warrior on the battlefield. How many lives did, you know, because this is about Patton. So how many lives did General Patton have?
Well, he thought he was a soldier of Alexander the Great. He believed he was a Viking warrior. He fought with the Persians. He actually believed he was Hannibal, a Roman legionary soldier under Julius Caesar. He believed he was an English knight during the 100-Year War, and he was a Napoleonic marshal. So he believed he had all these different lifetimes, and he always believed that he came back for a reason for World War II. That, you know, and he'll probably come back if we have World War III. I'm sure he's going to be out there, but he wanted to be a warrior, and that's what his whole mission was in life. And you know, when he was here, he wanted to get rid of the Russians. You know,
right. And yet they were our allies. You know, at a certain point, so.
They wouldn't let him do it, but I guess he had a feeling about the Russians. But yeah, he was pretty amazing, pretty outspoken. He got in trouble a lot with the press and with the military heads and all.
Right. Well, him being a general, I mean, that's, you know, you're basically dealing with the president and the Secretary of Defense, more or less. I mean, those are your bosses. So if they're shutting you down, they're shutting you down. But I guess he could argue with them. You know, I guess he had the means and know how to do it. But I guess, you know, you talk about a lot of famous people believed in reincarnation. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Henry Ford, who invented the Ford car, believed in reincarnation. Of course, the Dalai Lama, many people know that he has been the Dalai Lama for many successions through many lives. And I think he said that he won't come back again as the Dalai Lama, which is kind of interesting. I think he's tired of coming back as the Dalai Lama. But and then there was Jack London, the famous author who wrote about the Star Rover. A lot of people don't know about that book, and it's fascinating.
No, I never heard of it.
It's based on the true story of an outlaw named Ed Morrell, who spent time in prison and was tortured, horrible torture, and learned how to astral project into his past lives. And the book's about that and what he went through. So Jack London was pretty amazing. And Ed Morrell went on to speak about these past lives and what he went through after he got out of prison. He was reformed, and it's an amazing story. Benjamin Franklin's another one.
Wow, I didn't know. Yeah. Tell me about Ben Franklin. Oh, that's interesting.
Well, let's see. trying to remember who he thought he was. Hold on for just a minute. There's so many people in here. I get confused with all these people, but let's see here.
I have Henry Ford's dining room set in my home.
Oh, you do? Oh, my gosh.
Yes. My husband's great-grandparents bought it at auction at the Henry Ford Mansion when they were auctioning some furniture off. So it's over 100 years old, and it's antique, and it's awesome. I got all three pieces. I got the table, the buffet-like thing, and then there's a secretary that has a round beveled glass.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It really is.
Wow, that's amazing. I never knew that. That's incredible.
Wow.
So since I have those pieces of furniture from the Ford Mansion, can that bring their spirits towards my home?
Maybe.
Well, if they're attached to it, maybe.
Yeah, if they're attached. And a lot of older things do have memories of the people that were involved with them. It may not be their spirit, but their energy is attached to, physical things.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, interesting enough, Betsy, is in the secretary part of it, there is a 6 by 6 inches beveled glass mirror. And you know how those mirrors are so
Oh, yeah.
Well, I was taking a picture one day of that in that room, and my deceased husband's face is in the mirror.
Oh, my goodness.
Wow. Wow.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. Yeah, but he's, his energy's still there, and his consciousness and spirit is always around you. Period. That's a fact. I already know that. So that wouldn't surprise me.
I was going to say a lot of fortune tellers have always looked in mirrors, used mirrors or water to see into the future. So that, if you start looking in that mirror, you might see some things in there.
Well, Nostradamus, right? Nostradamus, he used a bowl with water or dark liquid or something. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, the set is over 100 years old, so I'm wondering what I would see. I never thought of it that way, but I might check that out.
Yeah, check that out. I found what Benjamin Franklin, he said he thought there was something behind reincarnation, and he said, when I see nothing annihilated in the works of God and not a drop of water wasted, I cannot suspect that annihilation of souls or believe that he will suffer the daily waste of millions of minds ready-made that now exist and put himself to the continued trouble of making new ones. Thus finding myself to exist in the world, I believe I shall, in some shape or other, always exist. And with all the inconveniences human life is liable to, I shall not object to a new edition of mine, hoping, however, that the etc. of last may be corrected, of the last will be corrected. So, yeah, he didn't recall a past life, but he did, think there was something to it.
Well, here's something for you, Betsy. One of our guests in the chat says, and I want to get your take on this, is we have 108 lifetimes in each zodiac to awaken the consciousness. What do you say to that?
Well, that's kind of interesting, but I think that we can come back as often as we want until we reach that perfection that supposedly the Christ consciousness, achieved. And supposedly Edgar Cayce said that Jesus did come back as many different people before he reached Jesus, the Christ consciousness. And, that's what we're striving for, lessons and keep learning here, soul evolution. That's what it's all about. So,
right.
I think...
I agree with that. I agree with that.
I was going to say, I think a lot of these millennials that are coming in now are from Atlantis. And I feel that, they're very poor when it comes to communication with people, a one-on-one communication, but they're incredible with technology and computers and just everything that's new because Atlantis was so far advanced. And I feel a lot of people here are from Atlantis, but I don't think they reincarnated too often. So I think they feel a little lost in this world right now, even though they are just brainiacs and, so advanced in technology.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's interesting that good old bootleg Joe Kennedy was in here as well. You talk about him. That's amazing, about the shocking details that, or not shocking details, but I guess he believed that also, did he go under hypnosis himself?
Now, who are you talking about? I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
Joe Kennedy, the father of John and
okay.
Robert Kennedy.
Well, no. The story is, back in the 80s, I met a woman. She was an actress, a Hollywood actress, and her stage name was, I never found out her real name. Her name at the time was Jean Lawrence, and she had been regressed through hypnosis by Brad Steiger, who's written many books. And
yeah, I'm very familiar with him.
Right. And he regressed her several times, and she remembered being Jean Harlow, the 1930s actress, famous actress. And she told a story which is so unbelievable, but who knows? But the story goes that she was invited probably around 1936, we're not sure of the date, but she told that she went to Joseph P. Kennedy's house for a party. Now, Joseph P. Kennedy was a real womanizer, and he was involved with actresses and all, and he even had RKO Studios way back when, and he could have known her from then. She was also, she knew President Roosevelt at the time, too, and he was close to Kennedy. But Kennedy was involved with a lot of mafia people.
Right.
Like Sam Giancana, the head of the Chicago Crime Syndicate. Yeah. Okay, he was really bad.
I'm shocked.
Yeah, are you shocked? Yeah, okay. So now we know why the curse, the Kennedy curse. But Jean got up in the middle of the night. She was looking for her fur coat, and she went downstairs, and she heard some men arguing and talking, and she saw light down in the basement. So she went down there, and some men grabbed her, pulled her inside this room, and here's Joseph Kennedy, and a man is tied up to a chair, and they suddenly kill him in front of her. He's like a famous leader, and I'm not going to tell you who it is. You have to read the book. But, so she described it in detail. It was just amazing. And I was working on a story. The gals that were involved in this whole story about Jean Harlow's, and Jean Lawrence and her belief in reincarnation, we were going to make a story out of this and try and get it into a movie. But of
that would
course
make a great movie.
Happened. No, I know.
A great movie, though.
And I had contacted the National Enquirer, and one of the people there was ready to do a big story on her, and she backed out at the last time. At the last minute anyway, and that was it. She disappeared. I can't find anything out about her. I found one of the people that knew her really well, and she said she didn't know what happened to her, and we don't know her real last name. She had the same name, Jean. She was also a Pisces, just like Jean Harlow. Her mother was a Christian Scientist, just like Jean Harlow's mother. There was a lot of coincidences, but she didn't look anything like Jean. She was like 5'10" and dark hair and a model type, and so I don't know. But the story, there were so many things that she said and knew, like her abusive husband and what he did to her. there's just so many things. And supposedly she knew somebody that knew her that was still alive back then in the 80s that confirmed everything that she had said. She claimed that she had secretly married William Powell. He was the love of her life. She had been married 3 times. And, of course, you know, she was in so many movies with Clark Gable and you name it. She was just the biggest thing back then. The Platinum Blonde. She was gorgeous. But she died at 26. She supposedly of uremic poisoning, which kidney failure. And, you know, there's different theories about what caused that. She was drinking heavily at the last there, but it might have been the pain that she was in.
Right. That makes sense. I don't know. It sounds very plausible to me. I mean, you actually knew this. You knew this person named Jean Lawrence, so that's amazing. It's a shame that she just kind of disappeared, Betsy.
Yeah.
You know,
she never became famous. I know. It's so weird. You know, nobody knows. I did run into someone that it was kind of a mutual friend that was on a flight and said that he ran into her. And, you know, she said that she had cancer, and I don't know if that's true, but I don't know. That's just the strangest story. And who knows if any of that is true. But, you know, it makes you wonder about the Kennedys and blondes, you know. They had something about blondes, right? You know, Ted Kennedy and Chappaquiddick and Bobby Kennedy and Marilyn Monroe. And
well, that's another thing about Marilyn Monroe. I mean, she was basically murdered. So I'm just wondering if she came back, you know, within 30 years or 40 years or so. Mm-hmm. I'm just curious if she did. You know, I wonder if there'd be even a way to find out, or she, you know, I don't know how old she'd be right now, because Marilyn died when in 60 what?
Something like
62
that.
or something, 61, 62.
Yeah, after Kennedy died. Yeah, shortly after that. I think she was murdered too. Absolutely, she was murdered.
I think she was going to come clean about everything. You know, some people say that Kennedy blew the whistle on, or was going to blow the whistle on the whole extraterrestrial thing, and he had told her, and that was just part of it, and partially about you know, Kennedy introducing a sound monetary system back into you know, back into our country and getting rid of the federal fake express reserve that we have now. And I think there are multiple things, and you know, and he's going to break the CIA into 1,000 pieces. So there's probably multiple things that got him killed. But I think she was going to blow the whistle on her, and that's why they killed her. So
well, I think that was true, and it was hurting. You know, his reputation. It would have hurt Bobby's reputation because she was involved with both of them. If she said that she was involved with them, you know, they were pretty good at hushing things up back then. Not like it is now when everything's on the internet. You know, look at Trump and Stormy Daniels and everything. Of course, it's out in the open, but back then things were really
I have to laugh about all that, Betsy, because it just kills me that we got a porn star and a gay man doing an interview on morals.
I know, that was interesting. And she was on drugs. Did you see her eyes?
You know what? She just arrived in Detroit up here in Michigan a few days ago, and everybody's flocking to this strip club to see her, and I thought, what a farce.
It really is.
You know, she looked like she was looped when she got off the plane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know if you watched that interview, but her eyes were like saucers. Her pupils were huge. And she claimed she was just on Benadryl. You know, I've taken Benadryl for allergies, and it does not do that to your pupils.
I think she had a little powder in the nose problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, you think?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, that innocent little girl that was so taken advantage of.
Oh,
poor little thing. Yeah, exactly. Sure. You know, it's disgusting to me that
the stuff they're digging up, like right now, just trying to disrupt the Trump administration. when I turn the news on, I just have to go out in the shed and get my husband's waders.
Right.
Because it's hard to fathom. I just got to wade through all this crap.
Yeah, and that's what it really is, isn't it?
This world of ours right now just stuns me. And what kind of world have we become? You know, it wasn't like that when I was growing up. There weren't those kind of things. There weren't shootings in schools. You know, kids would die, yes, but not cancer. I mean, everything has changed. It's like the whole world is out of balance, and I think we are. We're totally out of balance. Our world is out of balance. Everything is out of balance, and we've got to change things really quickly. I think we're destroying our planet too. You know, it's just so far gone.
Well, I
don't know.
Well, Betsy, you and I have talked about this with Badbaby. He said, you know, the dog's getting ready to shake the fleas off, and our world is doing it for us because we are just, you know, incapable of doing the right thing, at least as a whole. And then I'm speaking not about you, me, and Badbaby, and everybody who listens to this show and so many shows like this, but the so-called people at the top, these dark elitists. They couldn't care less about you or me or anybody else. And they continue to plunder and destroy monetary systems and screw around with the weather and pollute the oceans and continue to put up these nuclear destroying power plants. And when you have a Fukushima or, you know, a Chernobyl, they don't care. They don't give a damn. They just continue to do they continue to do their worst. So I think the dog is you know, she's shaking her back, and it's unfortunate because you know, I guess that's part of, I don't know, Earth's reset. I don't know how you want to look at it, but it's sad and it's heartbreaking. It's heart-wrenching, really, to see this stuff. I mean, look at how they've manipulated this young population, these millennials. You know, now they're supposed to be, you know, I don't know what, 30, 40 different genders. It's beyond absurd that anybody can even believe such ignorance and stupidity, yet they've been so brainwashed into believing this nonsense that look at their behavior on the street. Look at the way they dress. I mean, you got boys wearing dresses and girls wearing God knows what, and the behavior has just gone beyond stupid. Yeah. I can't understand it. I can't understand it.
Yeah, and I feel that, you know, most people, like I said, are from Atlantis, and we've got the dark hats and the white hats here again on the planet. And, you know, when we were on Atlantis, we destroyed it from our technology and greed. I'm not saying us in particular, but the dark hats did, and here they are again. And, you know, we haven't learned that we have the power and we can get rid of these people. We don't have to follow them. We can change everything. We've got the power. You know, we're that powerful. Our energy, our minds are that powerful, and we just don't get it. You know, instead we eat toxic food, and we watch horrible TV, and, you know, we're so controlled.
Oh, mindless TV, mindless dribble. That teaches you nothing, but only numbs your brain even further. It's sickening. It's sickening.
Yeah, it is.
I have a question. What are your thoughts on Art Bell this week?
Oh, wasn't that sad? You know, isn't it funny? He chose the 13th, Friday the 13th. I knew he chose that day to die, and I feel that we choose our deaths. You know, that wasn't a coincidence. You know, that's the way Art Bell wanted to go, that way, to show us that, you know.
I feel the same way that he chose the 13th.
Yeah, he did. He did, absolutely.
Well, you know, he always wanted to know the answers, Betsy. I think he knows them now, doesn't he?
He does, absolutely, yeah.
But nothing's really changed. It's exactly the same on the other side. Art's probably scratching his head going, man, I thought it was going to be so much different. I guarantee you he's saying that. Man, I thought it was going to be so much different. He's going, oh, it's exactly the same. Yeah. There's no difference.
Well, as I say, we're only a vibration away from the other side. They're right here. They're vibrating on a higher frequency, and they're right here with us, you know. And you're pure energy when you pass over. You're pure thought. So whatever you want to think, if you want to be in Israel, you'll be there in 2 seconds.
Blink of an eye.
Yeah, if you believe that there is a heaven, and when you pass over, you're going to probably see angels with harps because you believe that. And finally, your guides are going to say, hello, this isn't the way it really is. You created that. Or if you believe in hell and you believe that you've been bad and everything, you're going to end up making your own hell on the other side, And
I know where I'm going.
Where are you going?
I tell my adopted daughter here all the time when we're driving down these Michigan roads and then we're going boom, 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 hitting all the potholes. I said, Lord, when I die, all I want is the baddest Harley and blacktop roads.
There you go.
Well, I definitely believe what you're saying is right, Betsy. You create your own illusion because you've got a different frequency going on. But then you have to burst that bubble, or your guides will do it for you because they're going to say, okay, this is fun for a while, but okay, here's the reality. Okay, it's not much different. It's all the same, except you can do a couple of things that you couldn't do down there. But they're going to either you stay in 300-400 years, whatever. It's all up to you. Freedom of will, freedom of choice. It's all up to you. You can do whatever you want. So I agree with you, but going forward on that thought process, let's talk about Ruth Montgomery. She was an amazing person. I mean, she was psychic, so she was quite amazing.
Well,
and I know she wrote quite a few books.
She did, and a lot of the prophecies didn't come to, fruition. Like Edgar Cayce predicted, there was going to be a shift of the Earth's axis at the turn of the century, and she believed that too. Her guides had told her that. But the one thing I find really fascinating, and I believe it, are walk-ins. Have you ever heard the term walk-ins?
I have, but you may want to explain it to everybody.
Well, it's an agreement between a physical person on Earth that agrees to leave their body and allow another entity to enter it. And it's not possession. It's nothing evil. It's an agreement. This other person who's alive maybe has been thinking about suicide, or they just don't want to live anymore. So they've allowed another soul to complete their mission. And so, both are doing what they wanted to do. And she talked about a lot of walk-ins coming in at the time. And it's funny, I interviewed a gal who was very intuitive. This is when I first started my show, Rainbow Vision. I think it was like in 2009. And she told me that she felt like her parents were her parents, and she went through a near-death experience. And I said to her privately, I didn't say this on the radio, but I said to her, I bet you're a walk-in. And she said, I am. How did you know that? I said, well, you're describing everything. You don't like the friends that you had before. You left those friends. You're no longer connected to your family. Nothing seemed right. You're totally different. And that's kind of like, I wonder about Om Seti, the story I told you about the woman who fell down the stairs when she was 3 years old and became another personality. And maybe she was a walk-in of this 3,000-year-old spirit. So, I think a lot of people that do have near-death experiences sometimes also change dramatically. And it could be other reasons. I'm not sure that that's the only reason for it, the only explanation.
Wow. Wow. It also could be, Om Seti, that, when that happened, that could have woken up her higher consciousness in her conscious mind, and it had all that recall as well. Because I know that happens because with reincarnations, like I mentioned with the little boy, I mean, he didn't have an accident; he just remembered, and he probably remembered from birth. So that very well could be the case. You don't know, but hey, I mean, there are just so many unknowns out there about all this, Betsy. It's hard to kind of say, categorize it where we can put a textbook an actual textbook together and say, okay, this is how things work. If A happens, B happens, but if C happens, then D happens, but then A can also happen with, you know.
That's right.
So there's an actual textbook thing. I mean, I think that's a long ways off. But you remember, it just dawned on me. Remember the movie Beetlejuice? And then they die, and then they have the book. They find the book, the handbook. What is it? The handbook for the dead.
Handbook for life after death.
It was a manual.
That was funny. I think we all need that, don't we?
Yeah, I like where the football players keep calling the counselor coach. I'm not your coach.
Yeah, they all died in a plane wreck or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's
that
amazing. So, yeah.
Maybe you should write that book there, Betsy, the Handbook for Life After Death.
Right, the
there
real
we go.
one.
For dummies.
Yeah, for dummies.
Yeah.
And then the first line would be, whatever you do, don't panic.
Right. Right. Don't
Great
panic.
idea. There you go. Great idea.
So
there you go. We got you going on your next book.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that.
So, Besty, I did not know this.
What's
Your
that?
uncle wrote The Exorcist?
Yeah, he was my step-uncle.
I did not know that.
You
Wow.
did not know that?
This is something totally new, and now that I find out about you, it's amazing.
Well, I'll tell you how it happened. My mother and I were both living in Los Angeles at the time, and my mom decided to go to a dating agency, and she got a call from a man named Maurice Blatty, and she went out with him. He wanted to be called Mo, and he took her to a nice restaurant. I think it was in somewhere on the beach somewhere, and he took her home, and he threw a book at her and said, "Read this. My brother wrote it." And she looked at it, and it was The Exorcist, and that's how the relationship started. So that was in 1971. So Bill Blatty became my step-uncle, and yeah, it was interesting times back then.
I could imagine. Now, you were fairly young back then. Did you see the movie?
Yeah, we had to see the movie before we met Bill. Yeah,
okay.
Bill made sure that we went to see the movie. In fact, he got us in on a theater right on Wilshire in La Cienega. And there was a huge line there, and he walked up to the manager and said, "I'm the brother of Bill Blatty, William Peter Blatty," and he wrote The Exorcist, and we got right in.
Right, I can imagine. So it must have scared the bejesus out of you when you first saw that, right?
I did. Yeah, I did. Yeah, it was pretty scary. Well, I read the book first, and so I kind of knew what was happening. But when you're watching that movie, you know, on the big screen and everything, and people are screaming, and yeah, it was scary.
Yeah, I remember when I saw that for the first time. Yeah, I didn't turn the lights out that evening or the next evening. Yeah, that kind of scared me straight a little bit. But then, you know, of course, yeah. But then, when you get older, then you're like, yeah, okay, whatever. But you know, at that time, that was, top effects and you know the whole Catholic Church thing, trying to basically scare the heck out of you. I mean, it's still trying to do it today. You're going to go to hell if you don't, if you don't say your prayers and pray to God and all that. I mean, it's like, oh God, that's a whole another thing. But I just remember it did scare me pretty good. How about you, Badbaby?
Well, I was told that I was going to burn in hell because I got pregnant when I was 14.
Yeah.
So, my grandmother made the mistake of telling me to go down and to the rectory and ask to. She really was big on the church and wanted me to be married in the church. And, oh, my God. I came out of there in tears. You're going to burn in hell forever, and this and that.
Right.
And, oh, God. And my grandmother said, well, she was abused at home, and she just wants someone to love her, have some understanding. But there is no understanding there. So I'm doomed already. So, well, hey, what the hell? I may as well break all the rules now.
Oh, no.
I look at it this way. The Lord's a forgiving Lord. We all make mistakes. We're not cookie-cuttered. Hopefully by the time you get elderly, you've learned some lessons and changed your ways. And, if he wants to burn me in brimstone for my mistakes, then I guess everybody's going with me, aren't they?
That's right, Badbaby. That's right. We're
That's
all
exactly
joining
right.
in.
That's right.
I'll make sure I save you all a seat.
Oh,
Perfect. I want front row.
You'll know you're in my neck of the neighborhood when you hear the song, Welcome to My Nightmare.
Or if you hear Harley Davidson.
Yeah, you hear this Harley stream by and this long red hair flying, you'll know it's me. All right. You just take the lemons and you make lemonade and make the best of it, right?
That's it. That's all you can do.
Yeah.
That's it. And that's part of the process of growth and learning. That's the bottom line. That's all it comes down to because, Betsy, this is really about reincarnation, most of it. So, and I'm pretty sure of it, but I'm sure you're going to give me your thought process on this. But I believe everybody reincarnates, whether here or on a different planet. I absolutely believe that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I do too.
Yeah. Have you seen the little boy singing in Walmart, Hank Williams' song?
No.
Oh, my God, you guys got to look that up. Go to YouTube and look up little boy starts singing, what's it called, the Road Sick Blues, or, where he goes, I got the blues. And this kid is 11 years old. They did a concert in front of Walmart. Now he's going to Nashville. And I swear to God, this kid's got to be Hank Williams reincarnated.
He probably is. Mm-hmm.
It could be.
Yeah. I think he is. He's how Hank Williams was kind of like a slinky, tall tall bean. This kid looks identical. He's 11 years old.
Wow.
And he's like a slinky little tall beanie kid, and he's dressed in country, and he taps his foot like Hank Williams. And I'm going, I swear to God, that's got to be Hank Williams reincarnated.
Wouldn't that be interesting if he could go under hypnotic regression to find out?
Yeah.
Then you would know. That would be absolutely amazing,
But, just go to YouTube, you guys, after the show and put little boy, 11-year-old boy sings Hank Williams in Walmart, and you will be amazed at this kid.
I will.
Wow.
I'm going to check it out. I want to see that.
I will too.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Like I said, I know what my last life was, Betsy. I told you I was a pilot in World War II. Boom, died in 43. Came back 43, 53, 63, 23 years later, 66. So that is what we are. With our consciousness is what makes this. I was talking about this last night, by the way, because I was invited to be a guest on Michael Bear's show. I know you've been on Michael's show.
All right. I forgot about Michael.
I got to promote this show actually on his show last night, so it was really nice.
Cool.
And I was letting everybody know that you were going to be on with us, so I hope there's a lot of people listening.
Oh, I hope so too. Thank you for doing that. I appreciate that.
Oh, no, it's my pleasure. Are you kidding? Anytime we get to promote our show, I go for it, especially when we have great guests like you, Betsy. But I was telling Michael last night, I said, the reality is that we our consciousness, our conscious soul, whatever you guys want to call it, okay? the only reason this body is even here and it's animated and talking and looking and walking and hearing and seeing is because our higher consciousness makes this happen. Because if our consciousness is not in it, it's just basically what this what we call a human body is a biological automaton, a biological robot. That's it. And when that cord is cut, this cord, the silver cord or gold cord, however you want to look at it, that our consciousness attaches to, once that's snapped, the body ceases to function. So, we're all a bunch of biological robots, and that always brought me to the story of, that the one of the Ebens that was captured, one of the alive ones that was captured, and I say captured, they say, invited baloney, captured, that was, they tried to explain it as, well, it's a biological, robot because it doesn't have all the body parts that we have. So what? It doesn't mean anything. It's this consciousness that operates that biological automaton, okay? And once its cord was snapped, and it did, and it died, its consciousness went on to do whatever. It could be reincarnated as an earth human. That's the thing. You can incarnate as whatever you wish. You can incarnate in a higher plane of technology. See, I didn't say a higher level of vibration. I just said a higher level of technology because we're still in this universe, Betsy. And I'd like to get your thought on this whole thing because I believe that we live in a multi-trillion universe. This is just only one. And then there's the fact of, they say, well, there's multiple Earths in multiple universes or multiple dimensions with the same, with the same you, but just a different part of you, which gets me going to the idea of the single-celled organism that splits. Okay, well, it's you, and you split. Now there's two of you. You're
an amoeba.
Right. It's looking at you, and you're looking at it. You're separate, but you're still one. Then those two split into four. Four split into eight, so on and so forth. So I look at it as a natural process as the whole universe and universes and consciousnesses, if that's even a word, functions. What do you say to that?
Oh, I agree. I think that, that would have scared me years ago to think that. But I think
sure.
There are theories that, maybe a part of us could be a male living somewhere, let's say in England or another place, and here you are here. And I think somehow, maybe that's true, that we do have extensions of our personality. Our souls can break off into other realities and other, people and experience different things. I think sometimes, when we feel really depressed and there's no reason to it, maybe our extension is being really depressed and we're getting that psychic vibe from that person. So, yeah, I think you're right on, Robert.
Cool. I kind of, I think about this stuff all the time, Betsy. It's not like I constantly, when I have time, I'm just sitting around going, and I'm watching some mindless, numbing crap that I've watched before. And the reason I do that is because I just tune it out, and then I start meditating on this stuff. It's kind of strange, I know, but it just makes me start thinking and meditate. Just like when I pick up my guitar and start playing, I'm not really paying attention to so much what I'm playing, but just my mind starts to go and to think as I'm picking the strings, simply because I've been a musician my whole life. But that also tells me that in prior lifetimes, I've probably been a musician as well.
I wouldn't doubt it, yeah. And that's a form of meditation, too, when you do that. Music is your meditation. So how cool is that?
No, that's totally cool. I had a question about reincarnation as well. And maybe I've mentioned this to you before. But, when you have, let's say a core produces, or we produce, because we are all core functioning as one. I don't know, but I'm just throwing that out there, and that a new consciousness comes into existence. Boom. The new consciousness comes into existence, and it finds itself on Earth. Would that be why we see such ignorant, violent, and stupid childlike behavior from certain consciousnesses that inhabit this physical body for the first time, or is it something else?
Well, according to Edgar Cayce, and I kind of think this theory might be true, that all souls in the whole cosmos, other universes were created at the same time. It was kind of like the Big Bang. We were freed, and God let us go on our own and do what we wanted and gave us free will, and that's what we did. But I think a lot of souls did not reincarnate. Some of them went to other places. We kind of became maybe outlaws, you might say. We were kind of doing our own thing, and we just were wayward. There's angels. Angels have never been in a physical body, I believe. I believe there are angels out there. And I think spirit guides have been in physical bodies, and they come back. And I think some of these idiots out there, there are sick minds. There really are. There are some sick people that have never healed.
I was going to ask, like people that are murderers and have no conscience of murder, you think that they've murdered in past lives maybe, and that they just come back and they've got that, that evilness in them, that they are compelled to do something like that?
Yeah, I think so. It's part of that pattern. I think relationships are patterns. I think a lot of things that happen are part of that pattern, and people just haven't learned. I mean, some souls don't want to learn. Some don't want to grow. They just don't. They refuse to. That's what ghosts are. They're
stuck on stupid, aren't they, Betsy?
Yeah.
Are they stuck on stupid?
Yeah.
Stuck on stupid. I like that.
Yeah, they are. Knuckleheads.
Well, but there's also the other side of that argument.
Was that they when they were handing out brains, they thought they said trains, and they didn't want to go anywhere.
That's right.
So they got in the wrong line.
Right, and then they've been stuck on the wrong track. But here's the other side of that as well, Betsy. I'd like to throw this out there, that in order for any consciousness to grow, to understand more, it has to understand all roles. In other words, how can you understand love if you don't know what hate is? How can you understand what compassion is if you don't understand what pain is? So if you don't experience all that, I mean, in other words, you have to play that role in one lifetime or another lifetime, the good, the bad, in order to understand it, because you can't have light without dark. Everything has to exist in duality, because it's duality. It's almost like gravity. It's the duality that makes everything function and move, because if everything was pure light, it would be pure stagnant. If everything was pure dark, it'd be stagnant.
It would be pure boredom.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
I got a question. What does it mean when you're having a lot of dreams with passed on loved ones, and the dreams are really bizarre?
Well, actually, I think a lot of times it is, you are traveling. They say many times our dreams are astral traveling, and you are somehow meeting them on that side. It could be symbolic things that only you would understand from the people that have, died and passed over. So that could be some kind of message from them, and maybe only you would understand that's connected to them. If it seems really lucid, do they seem really clear? Or are they kind of?
Oh yeah, I remember them vividly. I mean, I just had one the other night where my husband's garage caught on fire, and we were trying to put it out with garden hoses, and only half of it burned. And I was talking to my husband, and I said, well, don't worry about it. Only half of it burned. And then we turned around and looked, and all my pine trees that are 100 feet tall on the side of my house were on fire. And so they were burning down like a match. And we were trying to put them out again, and I kept saying, call the fire department, call the fire department. And he kept saying, no, we don't want them here. We don't trust them.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
I'm like, whoa. So then the next night, I have another dream where I'm at my in-law's house, and my mother-in-law is pushing me to the side and telling me that my husband's engaged to this other girl and blah, blah, blah. So then he comes in and he says, do you still love me? And I said, yes. And he goes, well, I'm remarrying you, not her. And my mother-in-law had a fit. Then the next thing I know, I'm on a scaffolding, and it's falling, and I'm holding onto the wall trying to keep from falling off the scaffolding, and my father-in-law comes up the scaffolding to help me, and he whispers in my ear, my vote's for you.
How strange. Yeah.
Wow.
And then I wake up.
Right.
You know, I mean, and doesn't it seem like in all of them I'm struggling?
Yeah, it does. You're losing control of something, and the fire could be anger. It could be interpreted in so many different ways. Fire, you feel like you're being burned by something, not a physical burn, but emotional burn.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, I can see that.
You're talking my whole life.
Wow.
You know,
well,
I've had like 4 of these dreams in the last week, and I've been getting up every morning telling my adopted daughter about it. And last night I wake up really tired, like, you know, really exhausted. And I said, well, thank God I didn't have any nightmares last night. But before I went to bed, I did say, I need to get some sleep tonight, you guys. Will you leave me alone with these crazy dreams?
Wow.
Right.
Do you keep a journal at all on your dreams? You should.
No. Are you kidding me? I'm so busy. I run backwards 100 miles an hour around here.
But a lot of times our dreams are intuitive, and sometimes it's something about the future. Sometimes, I have a lot of intuitive dreams, precognitive dreams, and I've been warned so many times in my dreams. So,
well, I have been getting telepathic messages, and also I've been getting dreams about earthquakes that this is really close.
Yes.
These messages about it's going to be a massive earthquake, and it's like right on edge. I'm feeling. What do you feel about it?
I think something's happening to our Earth, and I think with that great big crack that formed in East Africa.
Oh yeah, more than one.
Splitting apart. Yeah, those things are forming, the strange booms that are heard all over the earth, the earthquakes that are increasing, the volcanoes, strange things are seen in the sky.
Talk about volcanoes, Betsy. Volcano erupted today in Japan. Has not erupted in 250 years, and it blew its top. And it was yesterday, actually, and they issued all kinds of alerts and evacuations. So you can't tell me nothing is not happening. It is happening, period.
Something's happening to our planet. It is. And, I think a lot of the things that we're doing to the Earth are kind of causing these things. I also think that Planet X might be going through our solar system and causing, its magnetic pull is so great that it's changing things, and it's causing a lot of these earth changes. But I think we're also contributing, taking all the oil out. That's Mother Earth's lubricant. We're taking all those things in, and we're putting poison back into her. We're dumping all these horrible things into her, and she's just fighting back. She wants to survive. I mean, she's a living entity, and she wants to survive. So we've got to realize.
Did you know that Edgar Cayce said that the animals, he said in 2018 the animals are going to telepathically communicate with us. Did you know that?
No, I've never seen that. Where'd you see that?
I've
never heard that.
I'll send it to you. But that was one of his predictions. And what I find interesting, I don't know if you're familiar with MB333. He does YouTube videos, but he's been doing all these videos where people are sending him videos of the animals acting so strange. They're actually coming right up to people, and squirrels are crawling up people's pant legs and hanging on to them and eating out of their hands, and deer are walking up to the children, and and the turkeys are chasing cars down the road and pecking at their
Oh my
tails.
gosh!
Just the other day I went out and there were two big. I live out in the country anyways, and there's turkeys out here like mad. But they were standing in the middle of the road, and we were stopped looking at them, and they were huge. At first, I thought they were dogs. And then I went, oh, my God, those are turkeys. And they weren't intimidated by us at all. It was like, they're acting different. The animals are really acting different.
Did you hear what's going on in Oregon?
What?
What's going on in Oregon?
Well, people are saying that the birds haven't shown up. Certain birds that always come back, the hummingbirds, they say that there's something really weird going on. And, they're the first to warn us. Sea creatures, they tell us, animals, pets.
Well, here's another weird one, Betsy, that Badbaby was pointing out from Mr. MB333, that there's birds, and there's a lot of birds, and these videos are being sent to him by people all over the place, that the birds are not afraid of people, like pigeons and blackbirds and red robins and all kinds of different birds. They're like just sitting there staring up at the sun. And they don't care who's around them and who's walking by them. They're not bothered by it. They're just sitting there and they're looking up. And I saw that myself, staring up at the sun. What are they staring at the sun for? What are they seeing that we don't see? Because I know that their vision, most animals' vision, is way, way better than our vision. Our spectrum is very, very tiny. Their spectrum is probably a lot larger than ours, which is amazing.
And you saw this, excuse me, on that MB333?
Yes. Yeah.
I'll email you some of his videos.
Oh, wow, yeah. I'd like to see that. Wow.
Yeah. All these people are sending him videos of these animals. And here's some more things. Some bears were coming up, and they were looking in people's windows. Owls. People took this owl that was staring in their window. They thought it was hurt. They took it to the vet. Nothing was wrong with it. They couldn't understand why it was acting so strange. I mean, all the different species. Here's another one. A big, huge moose was walking up to people's yards in the suburbs. That isn't normal.
Yeah, walking through the middle of town. Exactly. And since we're on animals, let's talk about their souls and reincarnation and what happens to them as well, because I think they go through the same process we do, Betsy.
Oh, I think so, too. Animals have a consciousness and intelligence. We see that. And if you have a pet, you understand how intelligent they are and how incredible they are and the thinking process and all. And I know they reincarnate, and I know that they're with us when we pass over, and they're just incredible. And people that abuse animals, it really upsets me, all these stories I see in the news all the time, cows, everything. We've just forgotten how incredible animals are and how important they are, because I believe that they help with the vibration of the earth, and they're here for a purpose. God put them here for a purpose. And here they are, and they think what they do to animals doesn't count when you pass over, but it does. It really does. So
again, there's that law of karma.
Yes.
I had to put my dog down in December, and I have seen her spirit run across my front yard twice on my monitor.
Yes, they're there. Yeah. We had a cat that we had to put down last year. I held our cat in my arms. Well, he passed. It was so hard. Oh, my gosh.
Sure.
But anyway, he comes back. We can hear him thump, thump, thump. When he was alive, he was like Thumper. And we can hear him thumping around, and we can hear him, when he was we fed him in the laundry room, and we hear him jump up. We could hear his spirit, and even our dog would hear something or see him and chase, like he was chasing him. So, animals do come back.
Well, when she had to go out in the middle of the night, she would come up to my bed and she'd nudge me in the back with her nose. She'd nudge me until I got up. 2 days after I put her down, I felt her nudge me.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
I got up and looked like, and I forgot that I had put her down, and I said, "Not now, Trixie." And then I thought, what am I doing? She's not here.
Wow.
But she is.
Yes, she is. Absolutely.
Yeah, without a question. I think I told you this story, Badbaby, and Betsy. I think I may have told you this with my cat Bella. One night when I was sleeping, that's when she was much younger. She was always gallivanting all night, but she made sure that she was home at 6 o'clock in the morning, get me up for work. And I'd always find her on my bed. Well, one night coming out of that state of half awake, half asleep, that beta in between, that twilight, I hear, and I'm awake, but my eyes are closed, my body's still kind of shut down, and I hear clear, loud voice. I hear, "It's time for you to get up now." And it wasn't a pleasant, nicey, "Oh, it's time for you to get up now." No. It's time for you to get up now. And I open my eyes, and there she is staring. She's just literally sitting 2 inches from my nose. So don't tell me they can't communicate, because I know they can. Big time. There's the story. Are you familiar with Lob St. Rampa, Betsy?
No.
Lob St. Rampa was...
Oh, yes, I am. I didn't... Yeah, that's right. Yes.
That's right. And he had this cat, Cleo, and his cat would talk to him constantly. Of course, he was very elevated and very psychic, or at least he achieved that through lots of meditation. But the cat, Cleo, would talk to him all the time. And he's got some pretty amazing stories in there. So absolutely, it's a fact,
Have you seen that video of the animal whisperer from South Africa that went to this reserve, and where this black leopard had been abused somewhere in Europe, and they brought him over, and they couldn't even get close to him, and the animal whisperer came in, and she looked him right in the eyes, and he wouldn't look at anybody in the eyes. He had stayed in his little cage. He wouldn't even go out. And he told her certain things, and she said he wants to know about the 2 cubs that were with him at the time in Europe, what happened to them. And the 2 people that had the leopard there just were amazed, because there were 2 cubs and he wanted to know about them. And he said he hated his name, Diablo, because that meant evil, and he was above that. He wanted a new name, and so they renamed him Spirit. And I guess the one guy that was taking care of him too, he didn't quite believe, and she told him how to communicate with him. And one day he was out there, and he was saying, "You're beautiful, Spirit. I love you. You're beautiful." And he would just answer him every time, like, "Thank you, every time." And he started going out of his cage. He started exploring. He became a totally different animal. So animals, yeah.
That's
so
beautiful.
Watch that. Every time I see that, I just cry, because it's so beautiful. It's so spiritual, You just see how intelligent this animal is. You can see it in its eyes. Just amazing.
Well, let me ask you, since we're on that subject, what about, pigs and cattle, cows and turkeys and all that? Chickens, they produce eggs. We eat them all the time. We eat chicken all the time. Are they, from your point of view, everything's put on this planet for a reason, and a lot of it is for sustenance, but I'm assuming that they must have consciousness and souls as well, and they know their purpose here, so maybe they don't have an issue with giving their physical life up as a means of expedited advancement, so to speak?
Mm-hmm. I think so. I think you're totally right about that. And I love what the Native Americans, the indigenous people, whenever they kill something, they thanked it, for giving its life. And I think that's something we've forgotten about, that we should honor things, the cattle that we kill, when they're being slaughtered, before they're slaughtered, they should be, prayed over. And, we just don't do that anymore. We, so they have that fear hormone, that we're eating, and we're digesting horrible things. And if we honored animals, it would be a totally different world, totally different.
Right, I agree with you. So let's go back to Atlantis really quick, Betsy. So, 50,000 years or so ago, we had a lot of advanced souls on this planet. And, of course, I happen to believe that we were all engineered, without a question, by many advanced races throughout millions and millions of years, through the hominid species called Bigfoot, Yeti, Sasquatch, whatever you want to call it. That is the native hominid species of this planet. They interjected their DNA with theirs to create us. Hence, here we have the Homo erectus, right, or Homo erectus. But where was I going with this? Okay, so yeah, now I know. So basically, we went from sticks and stones to overnight intelligence. No, never happened. Right? But we became smart enough and learned from our creators, not creator, but creators, that we had enough smarts to advance ourselves quickly enough. And I think at one point, Betsy, I think that they said, you know what, we can't. They actually grew a conscience and said, okay, we're going to help them. We are the creators. We put them here, so we need to help them. And I think that's how that advancement in technology from so long ago happened. But what you're alluding to is that a lot of the souls now are here right now, and this, you mentioned this earlier about all the the technical advances that we're going through with the the computers and all the electronics that have been created and all the advanced technology. Can you really see that as those souls coming back at this specific time for that specific reason? This specific reason?
I think so. But I just wish they understand, I wish they were more spiritual, and I wish they understood these things. Kids aren't being taught these things in school. They're not being taught by their parents. I just think we're so far from our spiritual, souls, that who we are and what we are, that we just, it's sad where we've gone now. And I think if these kids knew who they were and how powerful they are and why they're here, it would make a big difference, because technology isn't everything. And I think that's what got us in trouble in Atlantis. There was the greed, there was the technology, and they had the great powerful crystals, supposedly, which was kind of like a nuclear plant or something like that. And they turned it inward. They're trying to destroy enemies on the other side of the earth, and it started the earth, a chain reaction within the earth, and earthquakes and volcanoes started, and it took quite a while. Atlantis didn't just go into the ocean. It took some time, and a lot of these people actually left. They were refugees. They left. They went to Egypt, and that's why the technology there. They went all over the world, actually, and that's why we have pyramids everywhere. We even have, the mound builders that arrived in the United States, and, you can find them all over. That's why there's that connection. They traveled. I believe they had planes. Going back to Abydos, Egypt, there's the carvings, the wall carvings that look like planes. Remember? Have you ever seen that? Yeah.
The one that looks like a helicopter? Yeah.
Yes, in a submarine. And so, I believe that, humans were really advanced. I think we were around when the dinosaurs were, walking the earth. I think we've been around for a long time.
Well, I'll agree with you. And you know what? Footprints don't lie, especially the ones that have been, sealed. Where in Texas, where they find the human footprint next to a dinosaur footprint. You can't tell me that's not real. That's absolutely real, and I absolutely agree with what you said. We've been lied to about everything, Betsy, including that.
Have. Yeah, why don't they want us to know? Is that going to give us more power? Is that going to empower us?
That's it. You nailed it. You nailed it. You nailed it. That we come into our own power, and then all these so-called the dark forces, the dark, deep government, this is what it is all about, is keeping control of the slaves on the planet. Well, you know what? The harder they squeeze, the more sand goes through their fingers. And you can see it as evidence taking place right now. It's happening right now. More and more people are waking up. You're absolutely right, Betsy.
Thank goodness, huh?
Yeah, thank goodness is right.
Is it going to be the 100th monkey? We're all going to awaken at the same time?
That's a good point. I mean, that's a very good point. I mean, I guess you have to reach, a terminal velocity, and then I guess there's an old story about from ancient times of this guy who was basically came up with these incredible riddles, but they were actually true and factual. Then he asked one of his students. He said to him, if you put a lily in a pond, and it multiplies by one lily every single day, when the lilies have reached half of the pond, how many more days will it take for the lilies, or they doubles, every single day? How many more days after it's reached the middle of the pond will it take to fill the rest of the pond? And the student said something, and he says, no, it'll take 1 day, because if half the pond's full and it doubles every single day, it would take 1 day for the rest of the pond to fill. So I kind of bring it to that point of reaching terminal velocity. I think we're getting there, and once half of that pond is filled, boom, almost instantly the whole pond is filled up. And I think we're getting there. We're not quite there. Maybe, I don't know, another 5-10 years, whatever, and hopefully we'll still be around
right
when all that happens. I mean, it always seems like we reach a certain level of technology and then we get kicked back to the Stone Age, and I sure would hate to see that happen again, because then all the technology is lost.
It is, yeah, it is, yeah. Well, I'm hoping, you were talking about your lilies in the pond, and I was thinking, the butterfly effect, which is something like that. A butterfly beating its wings on one side of the earth can create a hurricane on the other side, is the analogy. So, yeah.
Well, let's. We don't have that much time left here, Betsy.
No, we don't. It's gone by.
It's flown by. But I'd like to talk about the last thing. This is a big subject, and I love this subject: time travel.
Oh, boy.
Just jump right into that. Go ahead. Time travel.
I love it.
Thoughts, ideas. Me too.
Even when I was little, I believed that it was possible. Time travel was possible. And, any movie or anything that comes out right now, I'm watching Outlander. I just love anything about it.
Outlander with Sean Connery?
No. This is the one, the new one. Yes, Outlander. Yeah, I know which one you're thinking of, but this
that
is
was
the new
Outland. The Outland with Sean Connery. Right. Yeah, I love that movie. Right. That was good too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I've always believed that it's true, and I think what they're working on at CERN with the Colander, what is it, the Hadron?
The Hadron Collider.
The particles and all. I think they're actually working on time travel. I really do.
That's interesting. It very well could be. But, if we go to the idea that, all these ETs, especially in my experience, Betsy, where, they've taken me with them, and I spent 14 and a half weeks with them, and then brought me back an hour later. I spent
Wow.
14 and a half weeks with them, and they brought me back an hour later. I would absolutely have to say that time travel absolutely exists. Now, however we're achieving it, that's, you know, that can, you know, we haven't got any direct evidence from our own people, but I can tell you from my experience that I know it's a fact.
I do too, yeah. And they might know about stargates. I think there are vortexes that they can come and go through, wormholes, if you want to call them, you know, that they can travel through, and they totally exist. Aliens understand time. They know how to stop time. There's so many stories, people saying that, you know, suddenly things, you know, they couldn't move, and they know time went by, but only a few seconds went by. You know, it's really weird, the things that are, you know, going on. So
I agree with you. I
they
mean,
can manipulate it.
Oh, exactly. But that's, I was just going to say, I don't think they have a comprehension of how we look at time. We have this bizarre, peculiar way of viewing time as linear.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's
Mm-hmm.
12 o'clock, now it's 1 o'clock, now it's 2 o'clock. It's linear and always forward moving. They don't use that conceptualization, because if they can go forward and backwards, then time is an equation out of it's out. It doesn't really exist. It's just a man-made chronological order of things so we can put them in order. I don't think in their realm that doesn't exist, you know?
No, I don't think so either. You know, there's stories of people that claim they're walking down the street and suddenly they are projected back to the 1800s, and they see, you know, carriages and things like that, and then all of a sudden they're back where they were. I think people do slip back into the past, into the future, and I think sometimes that feeling of deja vu that we have, that we sometimes slip into the future or into the past, into a past life. You know, you've probably felt it. You met someone for the first time, and you feel that you've known them forever. That's deja vu, and
you know,
Roberts had deja vu meeting me, didn't you?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
I'm sorry, you guys, that I've been so quiet, but I got knocked offline and I had to get.
Oh, that's where you've been. Oh.
Yeah, that's where I've been. They kicked me out again, so I'm back.
No.
And I snuck off for a few minutes and looked up a few YouTubes and sent them off to you, Betsy.
I saw that.
When I went over to MB333, he's got a new one.
Oh my God.
Camels and elephants are they're finding bunches of them swimming out in the ocean. No one knows where they came from or why they're doing this.
Wow. I'll check that out. I can't wait to see that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I sent it to you, and I also
sent you.
I sent you the yodeling boy.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
Send that to me, too, would you? I want to see that, too.
Okay, well, listen, you guys, I got it up here. Listen to him for a second. You tell me if this is Hank Williams reincarnated.
Okay. Isn't he cute?
Wow.
Does he sound like Hank or what?
Well, a very young version, but yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Amazing.
Well, I'll tell you, he already got himself a scholarship.
Did he? Wow.
He's been on Ellen DeGeneres. He's been on, they invited him to go to the Grand Ole Opry. So he's standing at the end of the aisle in Walmart, and he just starts tapping his foot and singing.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is totally amazing.
So do you think that was his path, Betsy?
Well, maybe so. Maybe so. You know, I think a lot of these kids coming in are reincarnating very quickly, and that's why they have all these talents. They're amazing. You've probably watched some of these talent shows, like The Voice and all, and these kids are like 13, 14. They sing like they've been singing forever. They're just blowing me away. So,
I saw a little kid on Facebook that was like 4 years old, and he was dancing like Michael Jackson, doing the moonwalk and grabbing his crotch and doing that thing. And I'm like, oh my God, it's like Michael reincarnated.
Oh, how cute! Yeah.
So we don't lose them, you guys. They come back.
They do. Yeah, we do. We come back.
Yeah,
we're going to be.
Everybody does. Everybody does. No, what the task here is to remember each other when we come back. See, that's the whole thing. When we're going through that tunnel coming back in, it seems like there's a memory wipe. Not for everybody, but there sure is a memory wipe. And I guess the purpose of that is because if we didn't have that memory wipe, there is no way you're going to be able to live on this planet to know you just came back and all the things you do know from this life. There's no way. You'd end up throwing yourself off a bridge or something. You know, I just don't think it's possible.
Well, let me leave something with you before we part. You know, just think about this. What we're doing with the Earth and everything, and let's say that we're on our way to destroying it, which seems very possible. Just think that we're the ones that are coming back to a ruined Earth. You know, so we better start cleaning up our act now. You know, we don't have a lot of time. So just think about that. You're going to be reincarnating here, you know, and there's something in my book that Om Seti was told by Seti that he went to other worlds. And there's one world that seems very much like Mars, and he saw all these people dead and described them. They wore tunics, they had no hair and everything. Animals had flowers or plants in their mouth, and they died instantly. And I think that's kind of like, you know, that could be our future because of the way we're going. Something could happen that suddenly we're all dead, you know, and, you know, it could be a reminder. I know Mars was once inhabited by an advanced civilization, and something happened to it very quickly. And I think, you know, I've seen things. I actually remote viewed Mars when I was at JPL. You know, I saw these incredible pyramids and things on Mars. So I believe that Mars might be a reminder that, you know, if we continue on our path, we're going to be like Mars, you know, and the civilization that died there. So we got to clean up our act.
I agree
with you. You know what
I
think, Betsy? I think that if everybody on this planet would just do one kind act every day, it would change the world.
We would.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree with you. Absolutely.
I saw a posting where someone said, when you go to the beach, vow to pick up 10 pieces of plastic that wash up out of the ocean. Why 10? Take a bag and clean up as much as you can.
That's right. People just don't do things like that. They're so lazy. You know, I go to the park and I pick up plastic all the time. And now, I don't know where you live, too, if you've heard this, but you can only recycle 1 and 2 plastic. You know, they won't take it because China won't take our plastic anymore. So nobody knows where to put it anymore, you know. And now we've got all this plastic problem again. You know, I don't know. It's just insane.
I agree with you, Betsy. It is insane. You know, I just saw a video earlier today where you got a bunch of penguins living basically on a plastic island out in the middle of the ocean. It's sad. It's crazy. We need to clean our act. You know, we know how to do it. We just need the willingness to do it. We've got to put our best foot forward and start thinking about this planet, because this is our home. For right now, this is our home. But here's the thing. We've also been quarantined to this home because our friends upstairs know that the bad behavior of the ruling elite are not going to be let off this planet to create more havoc on other worlds.
Exactly.
Okay?
Oh, you are right, Robert. So right. Oh, my gosh, yes.
So
Do you blame them?
No.
Not at all. Not at all.
I was told telepathically that the reason they don't reveal themselves to us is because they are afraid of us, because we have no regard for life, that we kill each other off without no regard for life.
That's right. We kill each other for material goods, for wealth and all this other stuff. We're constantly killing each other when we should be helping each other. You know, the billionaire should be helping the person who has nothing. But no, all they want to do is make more wealth instead of helping other people out. I mean, what's the money there for? It's to help, not just yourself, but many others. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't billionaires out there who aren't doing that, because there are. But if there were more doing that, we would be living in a much better place. I mean, look at how many people are starving in the world. Yet we throw away so much food. It's crazy.
Oh, my gosh, it is crazy.
Look at all the people starving just here in the United States. Look at all the people living in tent cities, especially in California, where all those liberal lunatics are, you know, with their crazy ideas. I mean, it's just insane.
And how about Hollywood people with money, the billions of dollars? Are they helping all the poor out there? Are they? No, the homeless. I mean, oh my God.
They're buying Lamborghinis and having gold-plated cars, and I mean, it's sickening. But something that I saw that was really cool that they're doing in Europe. They're putting vending machines in front of the restaurants, and when the restaurant closes at night, they're taking all their leftover food, putting it in the vending machines. They're giving cards to the homeless, and they're allowed to take 3 things a day out of that machine.
Wow. Isn't that awesome? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
What a great idea.
Yeah, and so simple. I mean, the things that we could be doing over here.
Yep.
Yeah.
I did see a pretty cool invention the other day on Facebook. It was like a floating machine that had a conveyor belt, and it had a scoop. And this machine went across the top of the water, and it scoops up the plastic, and it goes up the conveyor belt and into a container.
Wow.
That's great.
Yeah.
There are a lot of inventions that have been suppressed on this planet for a long time, which simply put, it took us off the fossil fuel for cars. And what happens? The oligarchs, the billionaires who don't want their oil cartel ruined come in and either they come in and buy the invention up, shelve it, and if they don't play that game, then they end up killing them. Stan Mayer, perfect example, the water car. Absolutely works. I know how to make hydrogen. Very simple process, not much to it. It's just taking his idea and his invention and putting it into every vehicle out there. But no, the oil cartels and the monopoly money printers backed by nothing can't allow to lose that control. That's what we need to break the controls. And I'll tell you something, cryptocurrencies, I think, may have a shot at doing this because they can't be controlled by any one entity. It doesn't exist. There is no central bank or central producer of it. There are miners that distribute the coins. People buy the coins and they go to every single computer on the planet. And that could be the breaking point right now that could put these oligarchs on an even playing field with us, where they can no longer control and manipulate the monetary system. Because once that stronghold is broken, I think we could all become wealthy as a planet, as individuals. And I mean by wealth about wealth of creating wonderful inventions that won't be suppressed, by fictitious money that these oligarchs print out of thin air and hand to people. Go, here you go, you're rich. Give us your invention, and they shelve it. That's what I'm talking about, where no one's ideas can be suppressed anymore because there's no control over money anymore.
Right.
I think that's the key. I think it really is the breakout point. I absolutely believe it, and I am invested in cryptocurrencies. I can tell you that. And I think there's going to be great success with it. It may take a little time, but I think it's going to happen.
Well said, Robert. Well said.
Thank you, Betsy. I appreciate that, and I wish everybody would get invested in them because it's still very early in the game. It's very inexpensive to get to some of these cryptocurrencies because I have a feeling it's going to be our new monetary system, uncontrolled and not controlled by anyone. In other words, completely decentralized, and that's the key to the success of this whole thing. So that's just one aspect of it anyway, but there are many other aspects. I mean, the whole prison monopoly system, how they incarcerate you, encapsulate you and incarcerate you on ridiculous charges. I mean, look, the marijuana plant, which there are over, 5,000 strains worldwide, the most naturally grown plant used for centuries. All of a sudden, it got demonized by who? The ruling class, because they couldn't control it, they couldn't hold on to it, and they couldn't make a bunch of money on it. It's always the same process they use. Big Pharma did this a long time ago, again with the Rockefellers and the Vanderbilts, to promote the pharmaceutical industry, and called every naturopath out there a quack and tried to put them out of business. Okay? It's the same principle. They've used it across the board, and this is what needs to change. If people wake up to the monopoly and the scam that has been perpetrated on them worldwide, just open their eyes and say, "My God, I've been asleep this whole time." There is once an idea's time has come, Betsy, there is no standing on an army on the planet that can defeat it. None. And I think we're starting to see that. I don't know how far into it we are, but I'm certainly saying, I'm certainly seeing it for sure. I just hope we live through with all the earth changes that we're going through, because it's going to.
They're coming.
It's gonna, yeah, they're coming. They have been coming. They
have been coming. Yeah.
Okay, Betsy. Final thoughts. Give us a final thought.
Oh, well, I just want to thank you. And I think if we all come together and stop disagreeing on everything, and being such idiots about it, I think if we start using our prayers and our intentions and just come together, to make a new world. I know we can do it. I know we've got the power. We're powerful spiritual beings, and we do have that power. So I hope you'll look at my book. Ignore that negative review I have on there. I do have a positive one, so ignore that one. I don't know, that person I think had it in for me. But I think you'll enjoy the book. And I think there's a lot of things that people haven't read in the book, and a lot of new things. Jack London and Bill Blatty and his paranormal things that happened to him, and my story about Jean Harlow. So there are new stories in there.
Yeah.
But
we would love to have you back, my dear.
Oh, thank you.
When you come back, can you have that handbook for the life on the other side?
I will. I promise. Well, thank you so much, both of you. You're so wonderful.
Well, we love you.
We are such a positive and loving energy, the three of us. We just burn through that 2 hours, don't we?
We do.
I didn't even notice the time until I looked up and I said, "Uh-oh."
Yeah. Uh-oh.
Now it's time to say goodbye to all my awake friends. I love you guys all.
Have a great weekend. Thank you, everybody.
You too. Take care. Have a wonderful weekend, and thanks again.
You too. Thank you.
And I'll put a copy of this show on your Facebook page, honey.
What's that?
I will put a copy of this recording on your Facebook.
Oh, please. Oh, good. I'll put that on my website. Thank you.
Okay. Well, you have a blessed night, and keep in touch and enjoy the videos I sent you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Take care.